I should begin this with a big red sign that says nothing that I'm about to say comes out from the mouth of a professional, and I should actually do that periodically, especially later on when I'm talking about working out and exercising. I need to make sure that I'm just sharing my personal experience and that I'm not giving out any advices because, again, I'm not a professional and it can actually lead to some serious consequences. So I thought I should mention that. But this time I am still going on about protagonists and writing my own story. But I don't know anything about writing. I've never read any books on writing, never took any classes, and this is both about protagonists and the general style of writing that I would like to use when I'm writing my books. And this is how I feel about inner monologue and descriptions versus dialogue with other characters. And I think that's the difference, or to me, it feels when I'm reading it as the difference between the protagonist just observing the world and thus the reader not being truly in the world versus the protagonist actively interacting and affecting the world and thus allowing the reader to do the same. This comes from someone who just reads a lot of books, and I've been doing that for quite a while now, and my tastes definitely changed what I'm expecting from the book and basically how I want the book to talk to me, to keep me engaged and to not skip certain parts. I don't even feel like I'm ever going to use the narrator because the idea of an entire chapter just being the narrator explaining to me, the reader, the world that I'm reading about without a single line of dialogue with another character, be it a human or an inhuman, anywhere in between that, just doesn't really sound very appealing to me simply because I know my reading habits. And as a writer, I want to satisfy that one intended reader that I have in an ideal world with a book where I wouldn't feel the need or even the inclination to skip anything, not even a single line. As with everything, there needs to be some balance. I want to know more about the world where the story is happening. I want to see it, hear it, be able to touch it, smell it, taste it. I want to know about its history. I want to know what's happening simultaneously to the story elsewhere in the world, but I don't want some entity that talks to me from the pages to tell me about it. I want the character to actually experience it. I want the character to be the one who tells me these things about the world through his interaction with the world itself and the characters inhabiting it. This again is something that I will absolutely come back to when I'm dealing with world building and side characters, but for now I think I said the crux of it and can safely move on to the rapid arrows and their next adventures. Last time the old witch died and the Brotherhood of the Cat's Paw are going to attempt to claim the witch's book of spells for themselves. The boys see Longpole entering the building where the witch is currently laying in a coffin and are determined to stop the Brotherhood from taking the tome. Long Pole meanwhile enters, and his mind and his guilty conscience are playing tricks on him, making his shadow look like a monster when he's ascending the stairs. In the room with the deceased are two neighbors slightly gossiping about her, but when Longpole pretends that she was his aunt while showing them some crocodile tears, they immediately leave him there by himself to deal with his grief, a weakness that he immediately exploits and grabs the book even when his nerves make him think that the disease may have moved. He runs out where Bohoshek and Bristles are waiting for him, but there are also the rapid arrows waiting, and they've already decided that the book is definitely not ending up with the Brotherhood. So after a scuffle, they are holding them back, and Speedy is running away with the book. At night, back in the club room, Mirek is reading from the book and noting that it's full of superstitions and that it would be a tragedy if it fell into the claws of the cat's brotherhood. And the idea is that they are going to burn the book. Meanwhile, someone knocks on the door. It's an entity that introduces itself as the witch's ghost, coming at the boys with a violet spell, demanding the book back. It turns out to be Long Pole under sheets, and the only thing that he carries away is a beating, one that, as a supposed ghost, he shouldn't even feel. The idea to burn the book somehow fell through, and on the next page we see Mirek with the book and his father telling him to immediately take it out, that he doesn't want trash like that in his home. So back in the club room, the boys are trying anything to get rid of it. They try to leave it behind the door of the club room for a beggar to pick it up, but he returns it. Then they try to just drop it on the streets, but an honest boy finds it and gives it back to them. Seemingly unable to get rid of the book, Speedy agrees to hide it with him and take it home for the night. Bubbles is there as well. Both are dreaming, Bubbles of sausages and Speedy of the old hag demanding the book back. So the next day he decides to throw the book into the river so that it can no longer confuse anyone. On the way to the bridge, the Brotherhood spots him and they see he's carrying the book. He lives up to his nickname and gets on the bridge in time to throw it into the waters, leaving the Brotherhood behind, seething in an impotent rage, throwing some worthless threats behind the young man. Next one is a story of chasing after secrets, but this time not done by the Rapid Arrows, but thanks to their adventures being shared in the Young Herald, they became something of a legend for the other young boys living in the city, and some of them are trying very hard to meet their heroes to prove or disprove that the Rapid Arrows Club is real. And we see two boys recognizing some walls from the backside of the Young Herald, indicating that some of the adventures may have happened nearby. Right after that, they hear someone else calling for the Rapid Arrows to stop. It's another boy that's trying to meet the club members and potentially become another new club member, but the Rapid Arrows disappeared before he could talk to them. They follow them to a lift used by a transportation company, and they are convinced that's exactly where the Rapid Arrows disappeared to. They get on the lift, and an employee of the company calls the lift down, thinking that it's full of goods instead of three unhealthily curious boys, and leaves to move some of the goods from the warehouse. The three boys notice that they've been trapped in a large scale warehouse and noticing a window in the ceiling. They yell for help before someone from the company finds them, well, trespassing. And who would have thought that the people that heard these three boys screaming will be the rapid arrows? They lift the grate covering the window and help the boys out. The boys are elated both by the fact that they were saved and that they got to meet whoever they were trying to. But the meeting is short and Mirek asks them to count to 30 before they open their eyes. The boys do that, and before they finish counting, the rapid arrows disappear again, leaving the boys behind thrilled but sad that no one's ever going to believe them, even though they not just met but also were saved and even briefly talked to the rapid arrows, the legend of their town. This is where I'm going to stop, and I'm glad that I got to talk about the style of writing that I would like to pursue, and I'm going to continue. I have some more things to say about protagonists, as I always do these days, and that I'm going to continue with more stories about the club called the Rapid Arrows.